ABC 27 News at 11 starts now with your forecast first with Chief Meteorologist Eric Finkenbinder.
Good evening, everyone. Started off today with a bit muggy conditions. Temperatures making it close to 90 degrees. We got more 90-degree heat, though, on the way. Typical dog days of summer. 75 is what we have at Central Penn College. So a mild night. No changes really from the forecast from what we've been seeing. Kind of quiet as we head into tomorrow morning. But we are looking for increasing chances for storms for later Tuesday, but particularly on Wednesday. Notice what happens, though. Once the front clears, we got a nice pleasant weekend on tap. So we'll talk more about the timing of those storms and that weekend forecast coming up.
The death toll continues to rise after mass shootings in Texas and Ohio.
Some say violent video games are to blame for a rise in mass shootings across the United States. But is there a connection? An expert weighs in.
Startling allegations against a Lancaster teacher who was in the classroom for more than 30 years. What police say he did? Next.
Now, live from your local news source, this is ABC 27 News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Solons. Alicia has the night off. Shock and mourning across the nation today as the reality sinks in. 2 mass shootings this weekend, more than 30 people dead, dozens more injured. Can anything stop the carnage? Romina Puga reports.
Today, 2 cities in mourning. In El Paso, 2 of the injured victims passing away. President Trump visiting the wounded city Wednesday.
You all know of my history with the president as I've defended El Paso. He was very gracious, offered to help in any way he could.
It all started Saturday morning when 21-year-old Patrick Crusius opened fire in a packed Walmart, killing at least 22 and injuring dozens. Authorities believe he was targeting the Mexican community. 7 of the deceased victims, Mexican nationals. And new video from a woman who hid under a table with her 91-year-old mother of that moment when the gunfire stops and they decide to get out.
They're gone?
ABC's David Muir spoke to Octavio Lizarte, who survived the shooting, but his nephew did not.
You can't unsee them now.
Close my eyes, I still see them.
Officials today saying the suspect first entered the store without any weapons, then left to arm himself. Crusius now charged with capital murder, but federal authorities say more charges could be coming, including domestic terrorism. And in Dayton, new video showing people running into this bar, trying to escape 24-year-old Connor Betts as he opened fire in the downtown district, killing 9 people, including his sister.
It seems to just defy believability he would shoot his own sister.
As officials still search for a motive, former high school classmates tell ABC News he was formerly suspended from school for writing a hit list of classmates he wanted to kill and sexually assault. The FBI now concerned over copycat extremists and asking the public to report any suspicious activity they may see online or in person. In El Paso, Romina Puga, ABC News.
State House Democratic leader Frank Dermody is pushing for bipartisan action on gun safety. Released a statement today saying we need stronger and more comprehensive system of background checks at the national and state level to make sure we preserve the rights of lawful gun owners while getting rid of the loopholes that put weapons in the hands of the people who are prohibited from having them legally or because they pose a clear danger to themselves and to others. Republican U.S. Senator Pat Toomey says his legislation could help. Mass shootings and violent gun crimes are tragic American problems. It is past time for Congress to take action, and the Manchin-Toomey background check legislation represents an opportunity to make actual bipartisan progress to help keep Americans safe. The Justice Department may push for a new federal law specifically making mass shootings a capital crime. That would make mass shooters eligible for the death penalty. And that would match existing federal law, which specifies the use of weapons of mass destruction as a crime that carries the possible death penalty. Any changes would have to be passed by Congress. Not all politicians are blaming a weak background check system. Some, including President Trump, say the internet and violent video games are partly to blame for mass shootings. But experts largely disagree with that. Alex Peterson spoke with one here in the mid-state. Alex.
Well, Dennis, blaming video games isn't a new argument, says our expert from Harrisburg University. It's happened before, even way back after the Columbine school shooting. Our expert says people now are just looking for a way to explain the tragedy.
Quite often as humans, we try to find reasoning behind acts that take place.
Right? So in this particular case, people are just trying to connect dots.
Interactive media professor Charles Palmer says when trying to connect the dots, video games are often a target.
And the mass media essentially looks to see, well, what other things do we have in our culture that are violent, and then tries to make an association between those two things.
But no connection exists, he says, between playing violent video games and committing a mass shooting. Violence in video games is something he regularly discusses with students.
Let's find out if playing violent games does make you a violent individual, and if there's any proof of that. We don't see enough proof of that.
But President Trump Monday seemed to disagree, calling for background check reform, but also blaming video games and the internet for fueling mass shootings.
The perils of the internet and social media cannot be ignored. Mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger, not the gun.
Palmer says if video games and the internet were at fault, countries like Japan would have more shootings.
60% of the people play games, and a large percent of those you have to include are violent video games. Well, they don't have an issue of mass shootings.
And Palmer added that every form of media, movies, music, and TV have all been blamed in the past for the breakdown or ills of society. Video games are just now in the spotlight. Also partially blaming video games tonight, former Vice President Joe Biden saying they aren't healthy for kids. In the studio, Alex Peterson, ABC 27 News.
Thank you, Alex. A number of bills have been introduced in the State House and Senate this session to toughen Pennsylvania's gun laws. Those bills include ending the exemption of long guns from background checks when sold privately. Another, an extreme risk protection bill, would allow families to petition the courts to temporarily suspend someone's access to guns if they believe they are a harm to themselves or others. Sherry Goodman with Ceasefire PA believes these laws do have a chance of passing.
If we take steps to keep guns away from people who shouldn't have them, to make it harder for those people to get guns, to really track our guns, I think it makes everybody safer. So I am confident that if these bills could get out of committee and get to the floor, they would get a vote.
And Governor Wolf released a statement today calling on lawmakers to pass legislation to change the state's gun laws. Harrisburg police had a busy weekend responding to 6 shootings in just over 2 days. Police say 3 shootings happened on Friday. One of them was fatal. 3 more happened during the early morning hours on Sunday. According to police, all 6 shootings were targeted but not drug or gang related. And police stress that the public is not in danger. A Lancaster County teacher with more than 30 years classroom experience is behind bars tonight on $2 million bail. Police say for 4 years he groomed a student and was pursuing a sexual relationship. Sarah Gisriel joins us live with more details in the case. Sarah?
Dennis, the investigation only started last month when a McCaskey graduate came forward saying his former choir teacher, Timothy Sterner, spent 4 years trying to pursue a sexual relationship with him. McCaskey choir teacher Timothy Sterner, seen here in video shot in January 2019 as he readied students to perform at Governor Tom Wolf's inauguration ceremony, is facing 10 charges, including sexual abuse of children and corruption of a minor. Investigators say Sterner showered the victim with gifts, including a cell phone, clothes, and even a nearly all-expense-paid trip to Europe. Beyond the gifts and favors, investigators believe there was a more insidious side. Police say Sterner repeatedly asked the student for sex over the phone and in person at locations all over the map, including the school itself, Delaware, and Europe. The victim told police that Sterner asked for and sent several sexual images and videos, and on more than one occasion, Sterner pulled his head towards his groin and asked for sex. The charges also include allegations that sexual acts took place in the basement of Sterner's home. McCaskey officials tell us Sterner was immediately placed on administrative leave, as is protocol. They say they're fully cooperating with the investigation and will make counselors available if needed. Dennis?
Sarah, thank you. The Florida man who sent pipe bombs to CNN and prominent Democrats last year was sentenced to 20 years in prison. 57-year-old Cesar Sayoc, a police pizza delivery man and strip club worker, pleaded guilty last fall. In October, Sayoc sent bombs through the mail to several targets, including former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. None of those devices detonated. Prosecutors say he intended to silence those he disagreed with through violence. Coming up on ABC 27 News, 30 years later, the search continues for missing teen Tracy Crow, where that case stands now. New at 11, 2 people from Berks County were killed in a head-on crash while vacationing in North Carolina. Police say 48-year-old Brian Dawson and 17-year-old Garrett Dawson, both of Reading, were killed in a crash in Davidson County, North Carolina. 2 others in the same car were taken to the hospital. They are expected to be okay. A relative says the family of 4 was headed to a lake house. 19-year-old Paxton Workman is charged in that crash. 1 man was killed, another injured by a train in York County. The coroner says they were fishing from a railroad bridge in Fairview Township yesterday when a freight train came by. 25-year-old Ryan Amsbacher was hit by the train and killed. He was found dead 40 feet down an embankment. The coroner has ruled that death accidental. The other male was injured while getting out of the path of the train. The search for missing Dauphin County teenager Tracy Crow began 30 years ago today. She was 17 at the time she disappeared. Crow was last seen dropping off food for relatives in a trailer park in Halifax, but never returned to her home in Millersburg. Several times this year, we found police searching properties for her. Dauphin County District Attorney Fran Chardo has been working on the case for 20 years and says there is progress. He spoke to our James Crummell this morning on Daybreak.
Well, I wouldn't be in a position to name a suspect at this point, but we do have some promising developments that have occurred recently, and we're following up on those diligently.
Chardo believes Crow was abducted and killed since so much time has passed, and by all accounts, she was an innocent victim who loved her family and would not have gone this long without contacting someone. Sports Director Greg Mace is here to tell us what's coming up in sports. We got Little League fever.
11 hours away, 10 a.m. here. The East Pennsboro Little League team knows what they have to do to advance. Who they get tomorrow morning and what's ahead for these kids, it's coming up later in sports.
You're watching ABC 27 News, your local news source.
Almost 90 today, and there's a chance we get there the next couple of days. Eric Finkenbinder?
Tuesday, Wednesday, and let's just throw Thursday in there too. Why not? You know, we normally average about 20, 21 days of 90-degree heat. I think we're past that already. One of our warmest Julys on record. So far, August, we're not talking about extremes. And today, I was watching Dan Tommaso last night, coming back after being gone for a couple of days, and he mentioned there's going to be a drop in the humidity, and I noticed that, and I think I did see a lot more people out today, and perhaps we're getting a little more acclimated into the upper 80s, low 90s, of course, after a hot July. So overall, I think we were able to manage through today, and storm-wise, not a lot. I'm going to show you that radar because there still is one shower. As we look across Shippensburg University, all is quiet, more of a starlit night. So as Dennis mentioned, 88. Did not hit 90. I'm okay with that. Hopefully you are too. But notice we're not that far from the average, just 3 degrees. This morning we're at 70. Well, we've got upper 70s now for Hummelstown, Manchester, York, and Lewisberry. The air's calm. It's kind of quiet, nearly stagnant if we had more humidity. But I'm not really ready to jump into that yet. I don't think it's all that oppressively humid right now. Doppler show, we have what we call these ridge runners. So Brett mentioned a stray chance for a shower or storm today. That was the case. We had some in western Franklin. Now we got one that's still hanging out across parts of Mifflin and Juniata County between Port Royal. So that's just now passing, I believe, 322. Actually, that hasn't hit 322 yet. There's 17, so it's just south of McClure. Overall, it's just maybe enough to settle the dust. That's it. Better chances. I know it sounds like I'm looking forward to the storms. I'm looking forward to a little bit of rain. Driving around the mid-state now, some pockets looking pretty good, lush and green. Other pockets could certainly lose a little bit of drink, and perhaps Wednesday will be giving us our best chance of that happening. So our precision cast to show you tonight we're quiet. Tomorrow morning we're quiet, just like the last 24 hours. Here's tomorrow afternoon and evening. I do believe there will be several more storms tomorrow compared to today. I know today there really wasn't that much. I do think there will be a few more tomorrow, 2 or 3. Wednesday, I think that it's really going to offer the best chance. That would be mid-afternoon into the evening hours. We get the line of showers and storms to move through. So obviously some getting hit a little bit harder than others. I want to kind of focus a lot of our attention on to Wednesday to see if any of those storms would be severe too. So we'll keep you posted. Until then, National Night Out. Going to be out in Harrisburg tomorrow. Hopefully you can join us. We've got a lot of other locations too. We're going to be featuring them tomorrow. Stray storm, that should not keep you away. And even if we do get a storm, Dennis, it's just enough to keep things cool as it passes by. And we'll need that, especially with a 90-degree high tomorrow. But really better chances for storms Wednesday. Then we really drop the heat. I love this weekend, by the way. It looks nice.
2 weeks from right now, the first day of school will be in the books in Cumberland Valley School District.
That's why I sense so much excitement. Not the students, by the way, but the parents.
Exactly. Speaking of that, getting kids ready for school. Dozens of volunteers were at City Hall chambers in New York today, filling backpacks with school supplies for students in need. Everything from pencils to notebooks were collected through donations. State Representative Carol Hill Evans says this takes the pressure off parents and students.
These donations are going to help our students that when they get to school, they're ready. They're ready to learn. They don't have those worries about personal items, about uniforms. They're just ready to come in, sit down, and learn.
And those backpacks will be handed out to children on August 17th at Penn Park. Still to come on ABC 27 News at 11. A mid-state rideshare driver has two people point guns at his head. It is all caught on camera, and he talks to us about that terrifying experience. But first, we salute tonight's military hero, Specialist 4th Class Ronald Ditzel. Served with the U.S. Army in Germany from 1962 to 1965. We salute you, sir, and we thank you for your service. Two guns pulled on a rideshare driver in Lancaster. It was all caught on camera. He is now sharing the video and his dramatic story with ABC 27 News. Andrew Forgach reports tonight.
This video catches the terrifying moments when police say a man identified as Michael Baker pointed a gun at this Lyft driver in Lancaster. The camera was also recording when just 30 seconds earlier, another gun was also put at the driver's head.
At the moment, I didn't realize if they were real or not until after the situation when I went back and looked at the video.
Police say the whole incident happened when the driver went to pick up a passenger Friday night in Lancaster.
I think it was 100% set up because the way that it went down.
The driver, who has been with the ride-sharing company for the past 9 months, has always had the camera inside his car since he started picking up passengers. He told us he uses it as a safety measure.
It's not a requirement, and my personal belief, like if anything good could come out of this, should be that Uber and Lyft should provide you with a dash cam.
The driver says he also has no plans to quit his ride-sharing side job, even though the video also shows him being punched twice. And he says he decided to share the video to try and keep others safe.
There's no point in robbing a Lyft driver or an Uber driver whatsoever. We don't carry cash.
That was Andrew Forgach reporting. Baker faces numerous charges, including robbery and assault. Police are still looking to identify the other person in that video, also with a gun. People living and working at the Carlisle Barracks are being told not to use any water until further notice. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection took water samples today after gas was detected in one home around midnight. The barracks is distributing 400 cases of water, has 36 porta potties throughout the installation. Nearby facilities are also available to use bathrooms and showers.
We do not know what caused this or what it is, so we're just putting the safety first until we get the information.
And the results from various water samples taken by DEP are expected no earlier than noon tomorrow. A construction project is underway that could disrupt water service and traffic for thousands in Lemoyne, Cumberland County. This morning, crews began laying more than 4,000 feet of new water pipe. Pennsylvania American Water expects that project to cost $1.5 million and impact more than 40,000 customers. During construction, customers may experience discolored water and low water pressure. Traffic will also be impacted. There will be construction on Hummel Avenue and South 3rd Street. That project will be done by spring 2020. For full details, go to our website, abc27.com. Still ahead for you tonight, it can be hard for patients to get opioids. Many doctors are overly cautious, and understandably so, but they're not giving meds to even those in extreme pain. What you can do to make sure that your prescription gets filled. And here's a look at what's trending on our ABC 27 mobile app. Governor Wolf says status quo is costing people their lives. He's talking about gun violence. Mom's ex faces new charge in death of 4-year-old Texas girl. And man dies in Windsor Township crash. If you want to get in the know, download our mobile apps and you can stay informed while you are on the go. Fighting the opioid crisis. We've discussed how hard it can be for patients, even those with intense pain, to get the opioids they need. Some medical practices actually now have a no opioid policy. But it's not just doctors. Everyone is extremely cautious about their roles in getting opioids to patients.
The insurance companies are scared to allow patients to pick up their opioids. The pharmacies will say, no, we can't give those to you. Even though I wrote a prescription for it, even though I vetted the patient, educated the family, they won't let them have a medication that I believe will improve their quality of life.
Dr. Klein emphasizes that patients with severe pain or chronic pain need to find a doctor that is a patient advocate, someone who will find a way to get them a prescription to ease their pain and achieve quality of life. If you have a loved one who needs addiction treatment, this is the number to call, 1-800-662-HELP. A medical professional will answer. We'll help get you or your loved one into rehab and help you figure out how to pay for it. Well, the state is putting more than 200 vehicles up for auction tomorrow. The vehicles are either seized by state law enforcement agencies or no longer needed by state or municipal workers. That auction starts at 10 a.m. at Manheim Keystone Pennsylvania Auto Auction. That's in Grantville, Dauphin County. Gold coins, jewelry, and other estate items will also be auctioned off. Well, it's the first day of high school football practice, but there's already a change coming for the postseason playoffs. That story is next in sports.
The next game of the East Pennsboro Little League journey is a must-win game tomorrow morning. We now know that East Pennsboro is going to play a team from Newark, Delaware in the Mid-Atlantic Tournament up in Bristol, Connecticut. As they come off that loss to New Jersey, East Penn would now have to win 4 in a row to get the Little League World Series in Williamsport. That is a big task. And it's possible that if they win tomorrow, they could face the same New Jersey team on Wednesday with a chance to advance to the semifinals. This is a double elimination tournament, so East Penn is still alive, but only if they can win tomorrow morning against Delaware. So here's the schedule. They got to win each of these games to stay alive because they've already got one loss. Tomorrow morning, Newark, Delaware at 10 a.m. A win moves them to the losers bracket in the quarterfinals on Wednesday. Those two games are on ESPN Plus. That is a pay service for $5 a month, but it's great coverage. It looks like ABC's coverage of the Little League World Series. A win would put them into the semis on Friday. That's also on ESPN. And a game to send somebody to Williamsport is Saturday night at 7 o'clock. And in the National RBI Baseball Tournament that we've covered over the last few years with Harrisburg in it, they win their first round game in the junior division. That's ages 13 to 15, 16-4 over Boston. Big change for district football playoffs. No more Hershey for the championship games. In fact, no more neutral site games. District 3 today officially announcing that the higher seed in every playoff round will be the host for the game. Now, there had been hints this was going to happen. There's a variety of reasons, including finances, got to work through logistics in Hershey. This means the goal is no longer to get the Hershey, it's to stay on your own field. And perhaps a little bit of sentimental feelings here after decades in Hershey. The finals will no longer be there. That's just for the districts. The state football finals will remain in Hershey. And so it begins. High school football practices began today. And of course, every team would still like to be practicing when it's freezing outside in December and playing in the state championship game. And at Cumberland Valley and every other school, it is a slow transition back to work. These are the days getting used to the heat acclimation days. No full pads or hitting, just flipping tires there. A lot of drills and, in fact, already installing defenses and other formations. These kids probably sorry that summer's come to an end, but they're anxious to get back on the football field.
They're pretty pumped up right now. We're going to do it through some defensive practice right now, so they're really pumped for defense, and I think they're excited, to start the season. Anytime you start the season, you're ready to go. Tough sleeping last night, excited to go. I think I was up like at 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning, ready to go. So got in here early, 6:30 I think, and was ready to go. Just the first day is always exciting.
Cumberland Valley's first game is against Bishop McDevitt. The Phillies open a West Coast swing in Arizona. Right now it is 4-2 Phillies. They're playing in the 6th inning. Yankees and Orioles first and last in the East, but in the 6th inning, Here's Jonathan VR. He hit for the cycle. I'm telling you, there's a lot of bright spots in this Orioles lineup. I struggle to find them, but there's one of them. All right, but these are the New York Yankees. This is Mike Ford, and that's another home run for the Yankees, and they win 9-6. Hey, VR hit for the cycle. Come on. Here's our catch of the night. It's not Flounder, but it's Reynolds. The Pirates' Brian Reynolds. Watch him go back against the Brewers. Up and go. We'll watch again in slow motion. He's up. There's a bright spot for the Pirates, huh? But let's get back to reality. It's Mike Moustakas homering for the Brewers, and they win 9-7.
Like 3 weeks ago, the Pirates were in the postseason hunt.
Yeah,
they
were. They're almost out of it. Not out of it, but they've fallen back on harder times. Not as hard as the Orioles, but on harder times.
Weather?
Hot, 90 for tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. I guess I shouldn't call it hot anymore. We're getting used
August.
to it. There's a chance for some storms tomorrow. Better chances, though, on Wednesday. We'll be tracking both days for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for watching. That's it for now. Jimmy Kimmel's next. Next report's Daybreak at 4:30. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.